Richard. All right, Black Box Radio. We are in the box. This is the bbR Spotlight. No, this is the bbR's pop-up. Pop-up. Yeah, we popping up tonight. We popping up tonight. We have a special guest. First, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Queen from Black Box Radio. I am a host here. This is a media platform for Black excellence. We are a conduit for information for the community. That's what we want to be. Give information to the community, platform Black people, and just spread love in the Black ecosystem in Baltimore. That's it. Power. So tonight in the pop-up, we have amazing guests. Amazing guests. I don't want to say it wrong. Is it Iya or Aya?
Iya.
Iya Keturah. We have Iya Keturah. Welcome to the box.
Hello, my stay in power people. What's up?
What's up? I love it. We are tonight. I had to talk to Iya Keturah because she's doing an amazing event, and we're going to talk about that. We're definitely going to talk about the event this weekend. It's on Saturday, the Ancestral Celebration. That is important. It's something that we should talk about, and we're going to explain it because a lot of us Africans, we leave the ancestors at the door. Real talk. And the ancestors need to be in the door at the table, chilling. They deserve space in our lives. So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, we're going to kind of find out who you are, Iya Keturah. We want to know who you are, where you from, how you got here, and then I'm going to put some fun facts in the back end when you're done. So,
okay.
So introduce yourself to the Black Boxers.
Okay. Well, Alafia, hello, everyone. As my queen over there said, my name is Iya Keturah. I was born and raised in the United States, Queens, New York. Holla at your girl. I went to Morgan State University in Baltimore City. And I decided to, after doing lots of traveling and living in all kinds of places on the East Coast, as a nomadic diasporic woman, I decided to make Baltimore my home. And this is where I do all of the things, all the Black girl magic things.
Yes.
All the businesses I've had, as from a hairstylist, vegetarian food carry out, baker, vegan bakery owner. What else did I do? Make jewelry, homeschool the children, all the things that I done did in the past 20 years. I got initiated as a priest in the Yoruba tradition. And I decided to make this the place because it has been so good to me, because all my businesses were successful here, because I went to college here for free, my friend of whom my ancestors and spirits that guard me here. I decided to make this the place where I give my focused spiritual community service to. Okay. So my Elay is here. My Elay, or my shrine house, is here in Baltimore. And I live here in my off-grid shrine house in the city,
off-grid,
being wherever I'm needed, being where and when I am needed. What?
I love it. I love it. I want to, kind of put some fun facts in there because, the folks, that's going to humanize it. That's going to make people understand. Listen, everyone knows I talk about Morgan all the time because, of course, we're Morganites, of course. And you guys, me and Keturah went to Morgan together. We didn't know each other at Morgan, but I knew her. Everybody knew Keturah. let me break it down for you so you'll know. Everybody on Morgan's campus knew Keturah. You might didn't know her name. You might not know her. When she came through, she moved the crowd. This was the rock hymn of Morgan. She moved the crowd. Real talk, because she knew who she was so early. I remember, I told you that. I remember you had the markings on your face. You wore those, you had the high boots with the brown boots. I remember that. And she was different from all of us. We was there as on a fashion show. I'm telling you, if you go to a Black school, let me tell you, we fashion, we bringing it. The bridge was a fashion show. Let's
all day.
We did a lot of shenanigans on the bridge. Real talk. So she would come through in her own world, her own thing. And
on roller skates.
Yes, I always used to say, who is this lady? She was always Keturah. Always. And to now know her, she's still in her own self. She's still the same person. It's like the same person that I saw in school is a person sitting in front of me. It's so amazing. Like I've evolved, because but this lady here, she knew who she was at Morgan State University. And that's what's so amazing. And then I remember when you had your boys, whatever was going on, you saw her and her children.
Yes.
I promise you. I don't care what festival we had on campus. I don't care what was off campus. When Keturah showed up, 2 little boys was with her. I'll never forget. This is facts. And they had dreads in their hair when people weren't even thinking about dreads. That was not even a thing. She did stuff before folk did stuff. Real talk. I remember this, all of this. I told you this. I want to tell the people so they know, listen, I had a connection with her. And it's amazing how 20, 30 years later, we're reconnecting. And I'm just so honored to have her and just to know. Are you frozen over there?
Yeah, here I am. I don't know what happened to my camera.
There you go. And so, Mama Keturah has been around for a very long time and kind of walking through the world, but as herself. And on top of this is the fun fact of all fun facts. She started my dreadlocks. She doesn't even remember. At 40, shout out to 43rd Flavor.
Yes, shout out to 43rd Flavor Barbershop and Beauty Salon. Yes.
This is about 15 years ago. And I don't even have dreads now, but I had dreads for like 13 years, like 10 or 12 years. But she started those at 43rd Flavor York Road. Shout out to that. I remember years ago.
That's on the Black Girl Magic list of things too. I did hair. I did hair too.
You did hair. So now she's here today, and you are a Yoruba priestess, right?
Yep.
An ordained minister.
Yes.
Yeah. So your spiritual path is long and wide. And can you kind of say, how did you get to? Because I remember you knowing yourself early. How did all that happen? Did you have a family that allowed you to be who you wanted to be? How did you come to Morgan and not participate in the shenanigans that we all? Because you didn't. You was just yourself.
I didn't.
You did.
Yeah, I had a very in the world, not of it experience at Morgan. I very much experienced it. I loved it, but I was not entrenched in the madness part of it.
Yes.
And that is due to a very strong beginning in my family. My family was a very African-centered family.
Okay.
But in addition to that, they were deeply spiritual parents, very metaphysical, philosophical parents.
Oh.
And one was a Christian minister, my mother, and the other one was practicing African tradition, ultimately became a Babalawo in the Yoruba tradition, my father.
Wow.
So that was a colorful situation.
Yeah.
But what it equaled was children who were very diverse and open in their views of spirituality, metaphysics, philosophy. And what's interesting about that is we all thought that the conversations we were having at home were just everyday, regular family conversations until we left. And we were like, what?
And you saw how retarded everybody else was. Yeah, everybody else was not
having conversations about things. And,
yes.
And, I remember having somebody mentioning a book. I don't know, a book called The Kabbalion, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that book. That was one of my first books. And they were like, huh? So The Kabbalion is a Hermetic philosophy book of the 7 natural laws, right? Okay, it's a tiny little book. It's very readable.
Wow.
Yeah, tiny little book, very readable book. But I remember my father giving me that book. I think I was a teenager, and I was like, "Oh yeah, come on, I got you. I know that." And this particular, it was a brother. He was trying to impress me with his knowledge of the Kybalion, and I was like, "Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I have the book."
2 years old. I read that when I was 2 years old.
I got my book for my 12th birthday. Yeah. So wow. I'm saying that to say that because we were trained to really think expansively and introspectively, it made us look at everything, ourselves and the world, with questions, right? This did not make us pious by any means, you know what I mean? But we were always asking questions. Yeah, I want to do this, but why? Yeah, this feels like this, but what does that mean? You know, so when you're taught to ask questions, you don't just do things. You want to know why, and then you may do it, but you won't just do it without that mindfulness. And so that's what gave me pause and everything. I was like, yeah, that looked like a good idea, but the consequences are looking real steep for that.
Yes, yeah. And you segue into something because growing up in my devout Christian household, you can't question God. You can't question parents. You can't, no questions. You just, if you say something out of the way, you get knocked across the room. You can't question. You understand what I'm saying? And I think a lot of that is why our thought base, when we get to a part to think for ourselves, we think in boxes because we've been taught early. You don't question this. You don't question this. You don't question your parents. There's no questions.
Right.
You do what you said and you shut up and do it.
Yes.
And not to attack my parents. That was just that was the way.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Especially in the Black community.
You better know it. And so you went up to space where you were able to express yourself. And then when I saw you at Morgan, you were in full expression of self. And we were still in boxes trying to be cute to try to express ourselves another way because we never really questioned anything in our households or anything that our parents presented to us. You know what I mean?
And I would argue that that's the one major thing that made the difference, because outside of that, you know, my family and my upbringing was very round the way, you know what I mean? Very average Black family. But because my parents were so committed to having their own questions answered, right? Because they grew up in houses like you're describing. They wanted to make sure that if we had a question, they could show us where to find the answer if they didn't have the answer. Wow. And that one thing, regardless of all the other, you know, Black family dysfunctions and inconsistencies and, you know, all that were there. They taught us how to question things so that we would say, you know what, I hear you giving me that instruction, but I don't know. So, you know, it has its two edges, right? Yeah. When you raise your children to think and question, because thinking ain't no problem. Black children are brilliant children.
Absolutely.
But they quiet. They brilliant and quiet. When you tell your children that they can be brilliant and they can ask questions, you are helping them to develop a scientific mind, a critical and analytical mind that the world cannot usurp or subvert ever. You know,
that's what I'm talking about. That's what we have to do to our children. We have to, because they're going to be attacked. So they have to learn in your home, listen, Black Boxes, to question, to analyze, and to build this mindset that what's presented to you might not be what it is.
Exactly. And insist on an answer. Ask questions and insist on an answer with the consequence that if you don't get an answer, you will resolve to do another thing, because that's also a part of that's following through, right? So I would ask a lot of questions, and if people would try to sideswipe me or avoid the question or hedge around it or not answer me, I would say, okay. And then I would develop an answer and then live and act out the answer. And if I got questions about it, I was like, well, I asked you, this is the only thing that I could be left with. I was definitely not gonna do nothing, right?
Right.
So your lack of answering the question led me to answer my own question out of my ignorance. Now in real time, you see what that does? Next time you should give me an answer.
Real talk. Now we see, and with our young people too, is that their questions are not being answered because now they have technology. They have exposure and no one's answering their questions. So we see this behavior that they decide and they don't have enough lived experiences to be rational in some of their behavior patterns. And so we see chaos in a lot of ways.
And they're so teachable.
Yes.
Despite what their affect is, the bravado, the entitlement, the arrogance, blah, blah, blah. And despite that, they're very teachable. I substitute teach middle school.
Oh, when they're grown. That's when they start being grown. They grown.
Yes, and my students were having a very inappropriate exchange in the classroom, right? An inappropriate exchange. They were talking about things that they couldn't possibly know from firsthand experience, and they were talking to each other, calling each other things that was not relevant to their current childhood experience, right?
Right.
So I said to them simply, every time you open your mouth, you represent yourself. And you should only speak about what you know, what you have firsthand experience and knowledge of. I said, what you are saying to each other, you have no firsthand knowledge of. So you should quiet, because you're making it look like you know something about this, and at this age, you shouldn't. Is that how you want to represent you?
Yeah, wow.
All of a sudden, like, look, and these, big ego children were quiet as church mice. You know why? Because they thought, I was like, oh, she said everything that I say represents me. Now they're thinking about what they're saying.
Exactly.
I said, if you have firsthand knowledge of it,
don't
zip.
Yeah.
You can't call somebody something you have no knowledge of. He don't have knowledge of it. You don't have knowledge of it.
Adults need that. Not even children. Some of these adults need that. Let's talk about that. Some of these adults need that. Shoot. Don't talk about something you don't have firsthand knowledge about. Shut up. How about that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you represent. As soon as you open your mouth, you represent you. Whatever you say is still a representation of you. You telling a story about yourself. What story are you telling? Oh, my students were like, they were like,
that's powerful.
They were mad, but they were careful.
Yeah, that's powerful at any age, though. What story are you telling? What's coming out your mouth? What story is that? Is that your life? Be careful. So I love that. I totally love that. So you know what? I want to get more familiar and let people get more familiar, like with the Yoruba tradition, because when it comes to, we're taught Westernized Christianity. I want to tell people Christianity started in Africa, went to Europe, and became racist. Let's be clear. So check it out. You don't like what I'm saying? Go read. Hey, so
there's evidence.
There's evidence, and this Christianity that we are now espousing is a Westernized Christianity.
Yes.
So be clear about that. So, and it teaches us that every other tradition is secondary to it. So
that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice, because I don't want to attack people's religion, because a lot of people, they've only been introduced to that. But we have to, at some point, take a responsibility and read that Christianity is one of the newest religions. Christianity and Islam, they're very new. And so you got to look past those. Something was here before that. So you might want to find out what that is. And then also,
because they were both made to reform the existing traditions.
You better say it. That is the reasoning for their oration, is to reform what was already.
To reform and to unify current spiritual practices. They were banners under which many people that were practicing other things decided to come together. Absolutely. It was a political move, a good one.
A good one. And it's hijacked.
Oh, it's still going strong.
What? It's hijacked the world. Let's be clear. So I want to hear more about the Yoruba tradition and what kind of attracted you to that, because the Yoruba tribe, of course, is in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I want to hear more about that. So
okay. Well, my choice to become a Yoruba priest is very much to honor my ancestral lineage, because my ancestral lineage I can trace back to Abeokuta, Nigeria, and we are Yoruba. Okay.
Got it.
That's not always the case with people who choose this tradition, but that was the case for me. As I said, I grew up in a very diverse, open, spiritually philosophical home. But as my father decided to really commit himself to the African tradition, I started to learn that they had question answering practices that my devotion to Christianity was not addressing in the same way. Because at the time, I was an absolutely dedicated and devoted Christian girl. I was in church 3 days a week. I was in 5 choirs. You know what I mean? I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a youth minister. I was all the things.
Okay.
I actually considered being a nun at one time, you know, when I was a young woman, very young.
Okay.
So I was, you know, dedicating my life to Christ, which, you know, why not?
Why not?
And then, but as I get older, but as I got older, I said, I'm going to have a family. I want to have a husband. I'm going to have children. I have more questions, right? So we're going back to those questions. I have more questions. I was consciously using my own life to answer my own questions. I would pray and wait, because that's the process, right? For Christians, you have a question, you pray, and you wait. Pray and wait. That's the question answering practice of Christians, which I still think is a marvelous practice. But I was getting a little nervous as I got older and more people became a part of my life and I became more responsible for them. I said, I need to be able to have my questions answered, more questions answered with more detail. I need a yes, I need a no. I need to feel more confident in the moves that I'm making.
Okay.
I said, how can I get that? And the African traditions afford us not only a very substantive and expansive relationship with the Most High and all of the heavenly host, but it also provides us a way to ask questions in a variety of ways and get spirits insight and guidance about those questions through divination, through meditation, through possession, through trance, lots of ways. So African people, when they had questions, or like, you know, let's talk about it. And so they devised these spirit-led practices to communicate with the spirits that guard them, their ancestors, celestial beings, the Holy Spirit, and the whole heavenly host, and all the names you want to call them. And that's what I was very, very interested in, because I'm a scientist. I was, you know, I went to Morgan for science, and all kinds of sciences I was interested in. So I wanted to be able to coordinate the answers that I got from spirit with real life experience to see if I could trust these answers. So so over a period of time, yes, but at first, of course, I didn't know if it was going to be a viable system, right? These question answering practices when I first got into the tradition. But over time, and using a scientific process to check and see if you know, things were lining up, I gained more confidence in the instruction and guidance and wisdom that spirit was giving me through divination. And that encouraged me to dedicate myself more and more to African traditions, because African people seem to have the missing piece to the spiritual devotion and commitment and lifestyle that I was living. I said, you sold me on being dedicated to God. I ain't got no problem with that. Devotion, Yeah, I'm for it. Let's do it. Good character, live right, don't hurt nobody. You know what I'm saying? Don't do everything in a dumb once, twice. Be discerning about your people, about who you deal with. I'm for that.
Okay.
But I wanted to be able to expand that, and the African traditions really gave me that practice that I could grow and cultivate and gain confidence in. So I never had to convert. African traditions don't require you to convert.
Is that right?
No.
So you never had to be baptized? You never had to be baptized by
I'm initiated to several African traditions, but I never had to. No one ever said you're gonna have to denounce Christianity, throw that away, and come over here. Did not happen.
But Christianity says
so.
One path.
So I still maintain my, Christian girl status.
Okay, got it.
Absolutely, I didn't have a reason to throw them away. No one ever asked me to, and they served me. And I received my calling to ministry in the AME church. So I never had to throw it away, but I did have to add things that made my life more meaningful and to answer my questions that the people that I was learning from when I was in church alone, they could not answer them for me. I was like, well, if you ain't got the answer, how am I gonna get the answers? So I went to my ancestors, and my ancestors gave me some answers. And I went to the spirits that guard me, that were assigned to me by the Most High. That's the language I use. They were assigned to me to guide me and help me and instruct me. And I learned how to talk to them, and that gave me a real complete spiritual experience with my relationship with God. And all of the traditions, African traditions, Yoruba has methods to do this. Akan, Bakongo, Voldun, of which to several of those that I'm initiated to, all of them have a way to do this. So it became clear to me that African people are scientists innately. They are observing the natural world, and they say, I have questions. Who can I go to? Maybe I can go to the one who created all of this. Notice I said the one, because the Yoruba tradition, despite other misunderstandings about it, is a monotheistic tradition, not a polytheistic tradition. Of course, you can practice anything from a polytheistic perspective.
Sure.
Yes, you can. But in its essence, there is one, most high God of everything. And then there are divisions of that, right? There are divisions. So the traditional African says, if you ask an African person, is there one God that created all things? They'll say, yeah. And they'll say, well, are there many gods also that are assigned to different different energies and aspects of creation? They'll say, So in their mind, in the traditional African mind, this is not a separate conversation. In the American linear Eurocentric thinking, it's two different worlds. So it is possible to be one and many. So there's, like, in Christianity, there's one God, right?
Yes.
But there's a Trinity. So the concept is there.
The concept is there. Yeah. I wonder where they got it
there,
from.
but it's not discussed.
I wonder where they got it from, sis. I wonder where they got the concept from. Okay. Because, something's created after. You get a concept from somewhere. You usually get it from somewhere.
Yes.
So, because a lot of times, when I talk to Black people, the first thing they say, I'm not African. That's not what they are. That's the first thought. So that then cuts off all language of, doing any research, finding out, particularly who you are, or, what your people were a part of, what did they do? Because I'm not African. I was born in America. I'm American. That's what I hear all the time. And so when folks, I say, okay, because I'm African. So when folks say that, then I wonder, like, where's your roots then? I mean, so are you just a tree that sits on top of the earth? I mean, it had to have been rooted in something. And so that's my thought when I think about these Yoruba traditions and so many powerful people I know have accessed these traditions. You know, they have questions. They want to be a part of something they understand. And so when I hear you say that, you know, it's this way and it's not this way, and it's so close to Christianity in a lot of ways, you know, if you really think about it, in many ways, because spirituality has to be, you know, emulate itself.
Yes, it's many conversations having many languages to have the same conversation.
That's it, and that's it. So I think that to be well-rounded as melanated people, we need to look at different traditions. We need to access different traditions, and we need to question some of the shit that we are believing in. Excuse my language. We need to question.
Yes. We do. Because if you question it, you're gonna get some real answers that are gonna satisfy your souls.
Yeah, we keep doing it. Mama them did it, and grandmama them did it, and everybody them did it. But listen, you can do something different, or you can continue to do that and be confused and just do it because you performing. I see a lot of performative Christianity going out here. They performing Christians, you know. you get what I'm saying?
Oh, that's not just Christianity. We got some performers everywhere, in every corner of the globe doing all kinds of things. That ain't just our Christian folk.
Everybody's performing. I get it. I totally
we got performers in every corner.
I get that.
Oh yes.
So you said that the ancestors answered some of your questions. So in your belief that we should access our ancestors?
Absolutely. Because they are many of them are people we know. They were here. We shared life with them. I was taught that they are your first line of defense in the spiritual realm, because they just left you. They know you. They're your bloodline. You understand them. You trust them. When your mother dies, she's going to still be your mother. She's still going to love you. She's still going to have things to say about how you living, what you doing, and she's still going to be in your business. Period.
Oh my goodness. Period.
So that's not going to give. If you think you're done with all of the influence and guidance, and no,
you're not.
You can choose not to listen. You can choose to deny yourself the opportunity for this new dynamic in relationship with your parents and grandparents, but the opportunity is there. And if you're not accessing it, it's a missed opportunity. Why? Because if these people were living and you had a question, you would be calling your 125-year-old grandma. You'd be calling your 200-year-old uncle for his wisdom.
Yeah.
But you don't need him to be 200 years in the body, because the body has its time, it gets tiresome, and we want to go. So when it's time to go, that doesn't mean the relationship ends, but the dynamic does change. And we're not taught to accept this dynamic change. It's a dynamic change as a new opportunity to enjoy the people we love without them having the burden of the ego in the body. We're not taught that, but that's what it is. Because as soon as you jump in this joint, this vessel, you got to contend with your humanity, your ego out of check, your emotions out of order, and all the conditioning and all the things. Volumes on that, but I suffice to say that when our loved ones make their transition, however they make it, if they don't need immediate assistance in elevating or completing something that they need to complete because their life here was difficult, you're going to want to, as soon as you're able to, access them for the inside scoop.
So a lot of people who are grieving, who feel that they miss this person or their mother, their father, whomever it is, they still can be in relation.
Yes. Yes. Do you stop being your mother's child if she passes? Do you stop being a mother to your child if your child, God forbid, makes their transition before you do? No.
You don't.
But who is deciding not to continue the relationship? I guarantee it's not the spirit that's been freed from the body. It ain't that one. That's not the side that's resisting.
It's usually the human.
The one that's still in the spirit that's still in the body is resisting that relationship because they've been taught to resist it because of their grieving. And I'm not saying you're not going to grieve. I'm not saying that's not a natural process. I'm not saying that you're not, that you know what you're supposed to just be like, okay, they're gone. That's fine. Everything is great. No, because people make their transition in all kinds of ways. Every situation is different, but the bottom line is they're no longer in the body. So you have a choice to make. Grieve. But at some point, you have to be with the fact that they're not here. What are you going to do about this relationship? Is it over for you? Or are you going to continue it? Because they're ready to continue it. You're the only one that's resisting. So if you're open to continuing the relationship, you can have that. But I guarantee that it's available to you. But we're not taught that. We're taught to grieve and let it go. Why? Because that is the first line of defense that you have in spirit. So of course you have others. You have, the Yoruba tradition affords you several layers, a hierarchy of entities that come with you to assist you in this life, right? That you can access. We can definitely have a conversation about that. But ancestors, you know them. You know your grandma, you know your mama, you know your uncle, you know your cousin. You know your brother, your sister, whoever passed. They're now out of the body. You miss them, of course. I worship my father. I was daddy's baby. I miss my father, the heaviness of my father's feet when he walks into the room. I miss his lion voice when he would speak, right? Mm-hmm. But so I grieve. I took time to grieve the loss of that when he passed away. But my father is here all the time. If I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I play John Coltrane, he's right there. So the thing is, if you make yourself available, meaning if you take the time to empty yourself of your human condition, and you really tap into your spiritual reality. As a spirit energy, whichever you want to call it, you can talk to your now loved one who's out of the body in spirit energy. Period.
Woo.
Period. But we're not conditioned to do that because when we would be conditioned to accessing a power that's beyond this realm. And that ain't.
Yeah, that's taboo. That's taboo. That's
nobody wants us to have that power.
That's taboo. That's voodoo. That's all of this stuff. It's a label, but really, you can access the accessible because it's accessible. You're just not accessing it.
Yes, and there's lots of ways to do it. I'm not even going to say that the Yoruba tradition is the only way to do it, or divination is the only way to do it. Like I said, you can pray and wait, depending on how sensitive you are, how empty you are, how open you are. You will get your answer, right? But I'm saying that I'm a scientist. I like processes that will give me things that I can, build on in the future, because that's my thing. Yeah. Plus I'm a Taurus, so I like everything lined up, squared up. So the Yoruba tradition afforded me that. I can divine, I can track it, I can see if this ancestor is giving me good guidance, good information. I can, it's like a science project. You know what I mean? So my spiritual life and my science life is very much intertwined.
Wow.
Very much so.
And so this weekend, we are having an ancestral celebration. And so tell the Black Boxers a little background on how this came about, because I wanted to talk about ancestors and accessing that first, because a lot of times we're a little, that sounds spooky. People say, oh, that's spooky. That's what someone said to me. That's real spooky. What it was, but if you don't know, that's what you think of, because we think of witches and all of this stuff that
training.
Yeah, that we've been taught.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's the movie. I always said that movie we've watched for so long. And it doesn't mean that it's true, but it is a movie. And so in all actuality, you have an event that is going to be something that you can access the ancestors. Let's talk about that. How did that come about?
Okay. Well, I was thinking about it for some time, but I wasn't acting on it. I really wanted to start what I hope to be an annual event called Ancestral Celebration Day, where myself and my Ile, as African diasporic people, come together for our community and have an event that allows us as a community to come together and venerate our dearly departed without it being a funeral, without it being a sad situation,
wow.
without that
Okay.
we can actually just sing, dance, celebrate, uplift, and open up ourselves to whatever inspirations we get from creating an environment where they are welcome to come and are invited to be with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few months ago, a friend of mine at Creative Alliance called me and asked me if I would be willing to help them do their annual Kwanzaa event. I did the Kwanzaa event last year, and something struck me so hard when I was asked again to do it this year. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
No more Kwanzaa.
I can't do that. Now, I'm telling you the real story. That was my visceral response. I cannot do this again. I said, let me offer you something else. and I'm gonna say why I said that.
Yeah, I want to say, why did you say? Because we hold Kwanzaa in high esteem, which is really the principles of Kwanzaa is a beautiful thing. We're not saying Kwanzaa is bad. That is nowhere.
Look, let me. I love Kwanzaa. I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. I was the Kwanzaa lady for all my children's events. Really? I was the community Kwanzaa festival creator. Yes, okay. I was Kwanzaa lady. So I'm not getting brand new. What I'm saying is, over the years of doing it and being asked to do it, where I have enjoyed it, there's something about it that has always rubbed me the wrong way. And when my friend called me to do it, I was like, I just can't do it. I gotta do something else. And this is why. Kwanzaa is an awesome socio-cultural day for our people, for the world, really, to let people know how we do. It should not be put in the same sentence with Christmas, Hanukkah, Eid. That's been burning me, and it really does burn a lot of people. But it's been burning me for decades, right?
Tell me why you're burning. Why is you burning? Why do you feel that it should not be in the same text as Christmas and Easter?
Because there's no dignity in that, and I'm going to qualify that statement. I mean that when I say it. There's no dignity in associating Kwanzaa with Christmas and Hanukkah, because Hanukkah and Christmas, hundreds of years old, if not 1,000 years old.
Absolutely.
Kwanzaa never was intended to be a holy day, because it's not a holy day. It's a socio-cultural event.
It might be 40 years old or 50. It's nowhere near.
No, so the fact that it's associated with days that are not comparable, events, holy days that are not comparable, was a burning issue for me. And also that it's the only thing collectively that Black people have that the world recognizes as our holy day, right? Because we all do different things. We're diaspora people, right? Yeah. Yeah. Which is beautiful. But there's a beautiful thing about the diaspora, and that we are diverse, culturally diverse, spiritually diverse. That's wonderful. But what was burning me about this issue also is that as a diasporic African woman, I recognize that we have so much rich spiritual culture, and somehow it's not being acknowledged in the community as with one event that is comparable to what everyone else has. So whenever people are talking about their deeply spiritual, cultural rooted events, and then they say, okay, and then we talk about Kwanzaa, I'm like, huh?
It's not.
We have so much more than that. Why are we not talking about that? And we're not talking about it because we don't agree.
Because what?
We don't agree on the one thing that we all share.
Yeah, we have no unification in that one thing.
That's the drawback from being a diasporic person. It's wonderful because we're diverse, but then we're confused as to how to show unity when other people are bringing their unity and their spiritual traditions to the table. What do we have to offer? Not Kwanzaa. That's not Kwanzaa's place.
It's not Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa has a place, but that's not its place. And that was burning me. I'm like, okay, I'm a whole Yoruba priest for 20 years. I've been doing ancestral traditions, I'm doing rituals, all of that. Everybody in my community don't do that. That's fine. But when we come together with that inside of the greater community with people that are not African people, we got Kwanzaa to offer them. That's what we got.
That's all we got. But we can't do that no more.
So I say, let's keep Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
And we need something that really speaks to the depth and the substance of our spiritual collective experience as African people in the diaspora. And that's ancestor work. Not only is it core for everybody on the continent in all the countries of Africa, but it's true for every single tradition that there is. Every human being, for how long as human beings been on this planet, has a way to venerate their dead.
That's true.
They're dearly departed. Period. Yeah. I want somebody to challenge me on that.
People go to
your mama dies, you don't say nothing.
That's right. People go to and lay every year. They go visit the grave pouring out liquor. Listen, when you and if you go in the hood, you see all these little shrines of liquor. Listen, it's a veneration of the ancestor. Real talk.
Yes. So I wanted something that was unquestionable, undeniable, complete, what unified everyone on the planet, and what has been distinctly associated with African traditions, so that we could say, let us have a conversation about what all of us share, because it's our place to lead that conversation, because everybody comes from us. It's our place to lead that conversation. We shouldn't be following it. We should be leading it.
We should be leading it, because
so
we are the first.
I said, it's not like, so when I started talking to other people, other cultures, I talked to a Jewish community, First Nation community, Buddhist community, Hindu community. I couldn't get them all to participate this year. I'm gonna shoot for next year to have them all participate. I would talk to them about, I said, what do you all do to venerate your ancestors? Everybody has something they do. They don't call it ancestral veneration, but everybody does something.
Yes.
I have gone to many a Christian home on Thanksgiving and Christmas and seen a plate of food put out for granddaddy because he died last spring and he ain't here, and he'd be at the head of the table. These are Christian folks.
Or they leave pictures of all their open. They leave that chair open because that's what granddaddy sits. You know,
exactly. Yeah. So the thing is, because of the way we've been trained, we haven't been trained to see that what we're doing is actually ancestral veneration. We associate ancestor with, that African stuff, and we're not recognizing that every time you go to the grave, it ain't the funeral. Why are you going? Why are you going with flowers and candy and liquor? Yeah. This ain't funeral time. They gone. They dead and gone. Why are you going? Because you want to sit. People don't just sit there and do nothing. They sit, they talk, they cry, they pray, they lay, they do all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for somebody to challenge me and say that don't happen, because when you go to the cemetery, you see all kinds of stuff there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And no one bothers their stuff. It stays right there, because we all understand that that's a sacred space for that family. So I said, I want us to have a day where we show everyone in our community, in the greater community, what we have to offer that has the same spiritual substance and depth that all other spiritual traditions have, but that we share with everyone. Everyone has a way that they do it. This is the way we do it. How do y'all do it? So that we can see that there are correlations between.
Got it. So within this celebration, there will be other religions there.
That will be, I think the Dia de los Muertos is coming. Those people, the Latino people that celebrate the Day of the Dead, they're coming to put up a shrine, I think. And there's a Jewish group that's putting up something, but that's the only groups we can get. I'm trying to get Buddhists to do Buddhist Ghost Day next year. Okay. And of Hindus have a very expansive ancestral practice. They don't play, the Hindu folks. They don't play with their ancestors. They got it together.
Okay. So
yeah, they do.
This is a way so people can come and call out their ancestors' name. They can lay them on the altar or what?
Yes, we have a table. Okay. We're going to have an ancestral table, a community ancestral table where people can bring pictures of their loved ones. Place it on there. We're going to put white. It's going to be on a white tablecloth. White. You're going to put your so because it's an ancestral celebration event, you can put your ancestor pictures there because we're going to celebrate everyone. Because as soon as you walk in the door, your ancestors are there with you. So you want to say, look, I'm making this place for you over here. Just make sure that when you bring the pictures, it's just them in the picture, not you. You don't want to be on the table with your people. It's not your turn yet. So we're going to put flowers, we're going to put water, we're going to put all the elements there that will allow for the energy of your dearly departed loved one without their bodies to be present. And we're going to play music throughout, rhythm and blues, jazz music of people who have passed away so that we can celebrate those artists. It'll be going on in the background, and we'll have traditional, we'll do our whole traditional ancestral celebration ritual there. We're going to be doing it in language, in traditional language, or we'll be explaining what it is. We'll do song, and then we'll have a masquerade, the ancestral shrine dance at the end, done by an Egungun priest, and he's going to go out in the community, and so traditionally the Egungun priest or the ancestral priest possesses the ancestor, and then gives counsel and guidance to people in the community through the spirit realm. So he's gonna be that priest. They're always men. Okay, it's a male. It's a man's position in the tradition. So that man is going to be in masquerade dress, and he will be dancing the masquerade at the end, and it will be oh my goodness, we're going to have a elder storytelling circle so that elders that come, if they want to come up and share what their family does to celebrate their ancestors or venerate their dearly departed, they'll be able to share that with community. So we're going to give people an opportunity to place their folks together and celebrate together, give elders an opportunity to speak about what their family does. We're going to have some modern old music, and then we're going to do some very traditional things and cap it off with the ancestral dance so people can really interact with Egungun in the traditional African way, because we're leading, and that's the way it should be.
I love this. So really, this is a place where Africans in the diaspora can learn a practice that they might normally have never used or never accessed. So this is truly accessing the accessible. Wow.
Yes. And what I really want is for people to see that what we're doing is very, very simple. It makes a lot of sense. It's not spooky. But how can they know if they don't see it?
They don't see it. That's true.
And also, other people are doing the same thing, but they don't know what we're doing. So how are we having a multicultural unity conversation if we don't know where we come together? And that's one of the things that I wanted to share with Creative Alliance. I know they have a multicultural agenda. It's a European organization. I believe it's a white organization. But they do have a multicultural agenda. And I'm like, that's fantastic. We don't need you to do Kwanzaa for us. Because if we need you to do Kwanzaa for us, we don't need Kwanzaa. I respect your effort and the gift. And let me be clear. I'm for Europeans giving Black people their due. I'm for reparations. We can have they owe us conversation, but they don't owe us Kwanzaa. You hear me?
They don't owe you that. I hear you.
That's for us to do for us. So if we're holding our breath for them to put on Kwanzaa events for us, then we don't need it. Because this is what I would say to that also. If I decided as a Yoruba priest of 20 years, because I'm the HNIC, right? If I decide to put on a Hanukkah event, how many Jews is coming?
Ooh, you better say it again.
I asked my Jewish friend this question. He said, no one. I said, exactly. He said, because there's no dignity in that, is it? He said, no. I said, there you go. I said, so we had a touch and agreement right there. Me and him are on the same page. And that's the person, my friend Ari Pluznik is the person that Creative Lions who's helping me coordinate this event. Wonderful man. He gets it. And I'm like, see, I need you to get it. And so he's like, okay, we'll do this. So I suggested this instead of him facilitating a Kwanzaa event. And he said, okay, let's do it. Now, am I against Kwanzaa? Again, no. Do I say, yes, let's do all the Kwanzaa events? Yes. But do white organizations need to be doing them for us?
No.
No. Why are we being Pan-African revolutionaries going to Kwanzaa events hosted by white people? Why?
Because they have so much agency, and we have allowed them to infiltrate anything that we have. They feel that they can be a part of, and that's on us.
That's our fault.
That's on us.
That's on us. So I say, let's stop that. I say, let's all the people that's down for Kwanzaa, myself included. Let's put on Kwanzaa events for our people, like they put on their events for their own people, and let's invite them. That's fine. But we need to be careful about the image that we put out about ourselves in relationship to other cultures, because we get mad about how they represent us, but we're not doing it. So we need to do our own, and then we won't be mad about how somebody else is doing our stuff. Period.
And the reason Karenga started it was because of a lack of principles for us. It was for us. It was not for anyone else. And the commodifying of everything that's Black is the problem. Everything that's African and America can be commodified by Europeans, even our celebrations.
We allow it.
And we allow it.
We allow it.
Yeah, we allow it.
And now you gave me a very good argument when we first talked about it for someone asking me to put on an event, and you're like, okay, why even do it at all? I said, that's a good question. Good question. I want to answer that question. Answer the question live.
It fully though.
It was an excellent question, because I have to answer that.
Because I'm saying to myself is, why do we have to have a celebration with anybody? If it's not about us, then what we having it for? That's my mindset. But you came back and it really convinced me. Go ahead.
Excellent question. And I said, they're going to do it anyway. They're going to do it. And they have the media,
the resources,
and all eyes on them to do it. So I could have an attitude. Don't let me be, unclear and act like when people ask me to do stuff to sprinkle some Africanness on their stuff. This is not that situation, because I know this person, that's not what it was. But I have been asked in the past to sprinkle my Africanness on something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And don't think I don't have a visceral, attitude about that. But then I say, let me be intelligent for a second. Let me not give this visceral emotional response that I've been conditioned to give. The reality is they're going to do it. So I have two choices. Either I can put myself in there and make it happen the way it's supposed to happen, or I can say, I'm not doing that. Them do it, and me complain about how they represented me with me not there.
Yeah. So it's best.
Big girl panties.
Yes. Get your big girl panties and do it, because they're going to shit it up. Let's be clear. I'm being honest. So we have to have we have to have our own celebrations. We have to bring our own culture into the space, and it has to come through us.
Yes.
And then sometimes we're not comfortable
with that. For us, by us.
That's
self-determination.
Absolutely.
Kuja Shakali, we want to name ourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
We want to do all the 7 principles, but someone else is going to bring it.
That's a shame. That's shameful. And so it's important for us to have a celebration like this. We need, and if you're uncomfortable, come learn. come see what it is.
I am for all the criticism, all the input, all the suggestion, all the I am open to every single conversation, criticism about what I'm doing, because I would not be a community priest if I wasn't available for all of the responses.
The smoke. You ready for the smoke?
I have to be. I can't put no event on and talk about Kwanzaa in the same sentence and people not have something to say to me. I'm ready. Yeah. Because I know that I'm going to have to say this 1,000 times. I'm not against Kwanzaa. Let's have Kwanzaa. This is on December 11th. This has nothing to do with the 26th of December. I'm saying
Kwanzaa is a certain time of year. It's from the 26th to the 1st. So
yes, it has nothing to do with that.
If someone comes to you and says, I want a Kwanzaa celebration on the 10th, that's not Kwanzaa. Because you don't have Christmas on the 15th. You don't, I don't really know what Hanukkah is, but I'm sure they're having it on the day. So if you're going to celebrate something and it's the culture of the people, it should at least be from the 26th to the 1st.
Right. Yes, I do understand when schools want to have a little something. I get it. You want to have the Christmas party, the holiday party before, because I get that.
I'm fine with that.
But there's a way to
have a process. It should be what it is. This is Ancestral Celebration. Kwanzaa is on the 26th. So this is a different movement. Kwanzaa is a very valid celebration. It is something that we should look at because those 7 principles are beautiful.
Yes, we need them. Keep them. The last thing we need to do is take something away from Black people.
Absolutely. But we can.
I'm saying let's add.
Add, yes. We can scale.
We need more. We need more.
We need more.
And we need more dignity with everything else that we're doing.
Yes.
And we need to talk about not just the image of things, but the process of things, because the process of things matter. We are showing our children what we value by how we go about doing the things that we post and tell them that they should be a part of.
That's true.
It matters. They see us. So let's show them what matters to us and what they can repeat.
Absolutely. Tell us
for us, by us. Let's name ourselves. Let's decide how we want things done and create it for ourselves. Otherwise, it don't need to be there. The real test for me is to say, let's not have any Kwanzaa events unless we are putting them on, and then see how many come out. Let's see how many we got. Let's see how many Kwanzaa celebrations we have once we say we're going to only do them if we are putting them on. How many we gonna have?
How many we gonna have? That's true. It won't be many.
That's gonna tell us something. That tells us something. We can't afford to be lazy about our image. We got a lot of talk about it. How we want to control the narrative and all that. We're not controlling no narrative doing it this way. We're not.
We're not.
So I'm ready for all the criticism. You can come on today and give me some smoke. I can have a conversation because I want us to expand, not take away.
Okay. When is this celebration? Tell the people when it is, where it is. Give us the details.
It's gonna be, it is, oh my goodness, I don't remember the exact address. It's gonna be at Creative Alliance on December 11th, this Saturday from 12 to 4 p.m. The address is something I cannot recall. It just left my brain. I should have looked at the book.
You want me to look it up for you?
Yes, look it up. Look it up for me.
I can look it up for you. So it's from 12 to 4. It is it's going to be the community. Other communities are going to actually be a part of it.
Yes.
It's an actual celebration.
Yes, it's an ancestral celebration. We have invited all communities to come and share their ancestral celebrations. We only have a few committed. We hope that it will grow as an annual event, and we will see more and more.
Okay. It's 3134 Eastern Avenue, Creative Alliance. Yeah, Creative
3134 Eastern Avenue, Creative Alliance. Yes.
12 to 4, Saturday, December 11th. Come out. The way that we grow and people understand who we are as a people, we have to have texture in our celebrations. They have to expand. We can't continue to do. We are a great people We started everyone. We are the first. So we have to have more celebrations that expand our reach and who we are. And it's not just
and let people see the whole us.
From us.
Not the image. Not the post up.
Yeah. It's important. It is really important. And
we want respect.
Yes.
We want respect. We have to do things with dignity if we want respect.
And we have to show our children that our ancestors are accessible. That you know,
they're with us.
With children forever, or will they be with you forever? So should they not have a relationship with you? So show them the path to a relationship to their ancestors. So if you're not present, they'll be able to access you in another realm. It's important.
Yes. That's what I was able to say to my father on our last day together. I said, I'll check you in a minute. No worries. Wow. I'll wait a year and give you some time to work some things out, and we'll go to the mat and we'll talk. Let me know what you want, and I'll deliver whatever messages to the family. You know, you want some cream of wheat. You want, we want some Caribbean chicken, some curry chicken. I got you. Wow. So my grieving was not like the grieving of one who lost everything.
Because you had power in your practice. You know, your practice is powerful, and you understood that you could access him in any realm.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful feeling.
That's right.
And I just
it was everything to me.
It has to be. The problems we're having in Baltimore, the amount of violence, what would help these mothers and these sisters and these uncles and these, if they could access some of these people we're losing, it would change the process, the trauma and the hurt.
It does.
You know,
it does. I work with mothers who have lost their sons on the street, their sons and daughters on the street. I work with mothers and parents, fathers and mothers who have lost their children, because that's not the order of things. They're supposed to bury you, not the other way around, on the street. And I say, look, I do not presume to know the depth of your pain from losing a child. I'm not going to even pretend that. What I am saying is that if you are willing, I can help you continue your relationship with your child, because the only thing that has changed is that they no longer are in the body. They're still looking for love from you. And you still want to be a parent to them. I'm not saying that you're interested. I'm saying that if you decide to let me show you how to continue your relationship, your motherhood with your son, or your fatherhood with your daughter, it's possible. The only thing that needs to happen is your willingness. I don't tell people not to grieve. I say, take your time and grieve. But if you would like to continue this, I can show you. And when parents let me do that, and I go into their houses and we establish ancestral shrines for their children in the living room, and I say, and they have birthday parties with the whole family and the shrine, alive, kicking. Mm-hmm. I did that with someone last year, someone that was not in the tradition, but somebody referred her to me because she was grieving so badly. And I said, I went to her house. I was surprised that she agreed to do it, because she didn't know anything about African tradition, nothing. But she was grieving, so somebody referred her to me. I said, I kicked that statement to her, just like I just said to y'all. And she said, okay, I'll try it. And what it did was give her some place to put her grief, to transform her grief. Yeah. Because she felt her son there. I said, I can divine and tell you that show you that he's here. I can tell you what I can tell you what he's asking for. What, and there was so many things that came through that exchange while he was present that let her know that he was there. She was able to relieve so much anxiety about how he was doing. Yeah. And even about the way he transitioned, because it was a violent transition. She was even able to get some relief from the pain of how he transitioned. Because, and I'm just going to say this and leave it, not all transitions that occur in a very traumatic and violent way are as they seem. They're not all as they seem. Sometimes that terrible ending is a part of that person's life journey from one life to the next.
Wow.
That's all I'll say about that. I'm certainly not trying to minimize the grief and the pain of people who grieve losses from violent deaths, because it is violent and traumatic. What I am saying is that you only have one side of the story. That's all I'm saying. There are other sides to that story.
Yeah. Oh my!
And when you work with the spirits that can tell you the other side of the story, you get clear that the people that are living only have one side of it.
Wow. I want folks to understand that this work is healing work, and we have to heal. We are people full of trauma. We're being traumatized. We've been traumatized. We've passed trauma through generations. We live in a traumatic state. And if you're able to alleviate and access your ancestor, please try. It is something that we have to look into. We have to. And so on Saturday, December 11th, there's an ancestral celebration.
Yes.
We're going to celebrate and access possible ancestors. 12 to 4. Creative
We're going to celebrate them and we're going to elevate them. Creative Alliance,
3134 Eastern Avenue. Come and experience something that can transform your life. Mama, Ashe. Iya Keturah, I so appreciate you. Thanks.
It's been such a gift.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting me go on blast. You know, we get ready for the bullseye. we ready. Gotta get ready. I should have told you.
I love this because we have to, as Black people, as African people, we have to be fully informed. And a lot of times we can't express, we are not being expressive because we're holding so much inside. This is a way for release. This is a way to reconnect to something you think you lost. Imagine that. It's like when you find an old ring in your pocket. I lost one of the same ring right here. I lost it for almost 2 years. And it was in a coat I hadn't worn in a long time. I put my hand in that coat and I was like, oh my God. And we're talking with something that's a ring. It's just a ring. Imagine your child, your mother, your aunt, your twin. It's so much growth can come from the reconnection to your ancestor.
Exactly. And you don't have to be a priest in the Yoruba tradition to do this work. No. I was doing this work before I got initiated. This is something that is your right as a human being, as a spiritual being. You don't have to be in any tradition. This is your right to do as a person who lost someone. You don't have to claim any new tradition to do this. This is your right. It's your mama, it's your child, it's your granddaddy, it's your cousin, it's your people. You don't need to be a special anything to do it.
That was the jewel of the night.
So you can release yourself from that.
That was the tension. Jewel. That was the absolute jewel of the night. We appreciate you. I can be on here with you forever because I just love it. I appreciate Iya Keturah. I can't wait till Saturday. I'm going to experience something that I've never experienced before. So it's going to be a beautiful. And we forgot to say it is a free event, guys. FRE. Free.
No money.
No money. Bring your family. Enjoy.
Yes. Bring your family. We're not going to do anything that is scary or not family oriented.
Come as a family.
Everything will be explained.
Wow. I love it. Come as a family.
We're trying to
grow as a family.
It's and ask questions. I'm going to have all of the priests of my Ile there. We are prepared to answer all questions. No questions are ridiculous. No concerns are going to be minimized. Everything is going to be addressed because it can be difficult expanding, especially with the conditioning we've had. We're here for it. That's what it is to be a community priest. If I was a priest in a closet, I wouldn't ask y'all nothing. But I'm coming out to say, all right, let's have a conversation. So that means I'm prepared. We and all the priests that I initiated are coming prepared to interact and have these discussions because we need it.
This has been the bbR PoPuP. Iya Keturah, we appreciate you. We love your fire. And we're coming with the smoke on Saturday. We're going to see you on Saturday.
Ashe!
Guys, come out.
Stay in power!
Come on out. We are boxed up and out. Can I get some deuces? We're gone. Peace.
Peace.
Don't go nowhere, Keturah. Say it.
Okay.